This video is to thank Jah, who is the male side of the consciousness that created us, as it says in Genesis very clearly. And God made man. God said, let us make man in our own image, both male and female. So that means that God is both male and female equally. They made man, both male and female, to be like us, God, us, male and female. Okay? For some reason, evil reasons, selfish greed and lust, the male consciousness throughout history has conspired to deny women their rights, because apparently God is just male. God's male, you see. And they base this on the story, the parable of the story of Eden, that was there to create, that was there to teach us how to be like God. Because that's what God said, isn't it? How to be like God. So which God are you going to choose? Are you going to choose the fictitious God, the Lord of a story that was of a parable that was meant to teach us how to be like God? Or are we going to follow the real God that didn't create Adam out of the dust in the ground and woman out of one of his ribs after he'd created all the animals? No. Real God who created us, male and female, man, in God's own image, to be like us, to be like God. So that's Jah who I'm speaking to, who gave us Mistress Mountain, Zion, who's been turned into a molehill. Her intelligence, her understanding, her compassion has all been degraded and denigrated and oppressed and even punished and persecuted for the crime of delivering humanity into life after life after life. Now, I don't care whether people believe in or not in reincarnation, or that we have a soul. I mean, personally, I know it's a fact because of my life experiences and the learning that confirms those experiences. That came after I'd had those experiences, because I was trying to find out how it is possible for a human form to emerge out of a ball of light, golden light, and how a light being could materialise out of golden light and grey cloud before my eyes. How could that happen? Because there is a higher intelligence beyond anything, any technology that humanity can create. And the higher intelligence, that's why humanity is crippled, that's why the world is so miserable and disgusting, because man is crippled by this ruling power that is telling man, no, you're the God, you're the biggest and strongest, that means you have rights to do as you will. It is Luciferian law, there's no getting away from it. The law promoted by Jesus from Jah, who is most high, okay, the universal consciousness, the universal reality that created us alive on this planet today, that lives through us, if we will be a host to that light. But instead, what light are humans hosting? Well, you know, it is the dark lights, isn't it? Who are saying that, no, you know, God hates women, women should have no rights, children are minor human beings, you know. And that's what I love about Jah, because Jah loves the children. Jah puts the children first. Jesus puts the children first in any situation. You think about how your actions are going to affect the little children, and you intelligent enough like Jah to take everything into account, the environment we're living in, that before we do anything we think, well, what's the worst thing that could happen from this? But they don't, they just go on, go on. Oh yeah, but, you know, we're making money, we're getting rich. God is favouring us because God only loves rich people. God hates poor people. Well, you know, Jesus put paid to all that nonsense, didn't he? Explained that no, actually, God loves the poor people. God loves everybody equally. And everybody's entitled to that love. And that's part of my message that I've been trying to share for 26 years and just being ignored and laughed at and even attacked, abused, taken advantage of. Oh yeah, she's a bit daft, you know, she believes in Jesus. She'll help you. And that, but make sure you stamp on her after she's helped you, because, you know, she's just nobody. That's okay. I grew up being nobody. I haven't got an ego to protect, but I have got a planet full of children that I'm very, very concerned about. And, you know, that's why I make my videos, and this is true. Righteous women have changed the course of history and will continue to do so, and their influence will spread and grow exponentially throughout the eternities. And, you know, I mean, one person of the Bible, one righteous woman, was Deborah, who, you know, it is an amazing passage that this woman was so righteous that people came to her to sort out their problems if there were disputes and things like this. And she went, you know, they were under attack, they were facing danger and attack from this horrible Sisera, who was basically a mercenary to be hired by whatever king, a bit like the private corporate armies that are around today. They're up for hire by anybody. Well, you know, apparently he had 29,000 men and he was going to attack Israel, Palestine. So, you know, Deborah goes to Barak, who has an army of 10,000 men, and she begs him, look, will you please help and defend us from this mighty Sisera? So Barak says to her, if you will go with me into battle, I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go. He had such faith in this strong woman that he was not prepared to go into battle without this strong woman at his side, Deborah. And so she said yes, because he recognised that she was a woman of high intelligence, and therefore people understood that people of a high intelligence were closer to Jah, and through Jah, spirit is living through them. Their guidance, their understanding, their light, because it's pure, it's coming from a higher source. People recognised that in Deborah, in those times, in Israel, Palestine. Muhammad, the prophet, exactly the same. He was asked who he loved most. Did he say Allah? No, he said my daughters. His wives, Aisha was a strong woman. People say, oh, you know, she was a child bride. She wasn't a child bride. That's the fact of it. She lived in the household. They protected her from a dad who was prepared to sell her. If the Prophet Muhammad didn't agree to marry her, she would have been known as the woman refused by the Prophet of Allah. They were forced to compromise in a difficult situation, and when that girl reached 17, she was asked if she wants to consummate the marriage or divorce. And on divorce she would receive all the help and everything she needed. And she chose to remain married to the Prophet Muhammad. She loved him. And she, when Prophet Muhammad died, she was out there. She was a warrior, a teacher, a leader. People respected her. Very long, far cry away, isn't it, from the women of Saudi Arabia, all silenced and shrouded in black and only just allowed to learn to drive. And you look at the women of Prophet Muhammad's time who were by his side riding out into battle with him to protect the people, the innocent people, from the savages that didn't want to give water freely to everybody so they could wash and pray 5 times a day. No, because they were making profits out of the water. They were denying water to people. Oh, but suddenly Allah's saying, God, the higher intelligence. Sorry, these people need water 5 times a day. I mean, Prophet Muhammad is an absolutely fantastic guy. He was fantastic. And people say, oh yeah, but, you know, he called women cows. He raised women to the status of a cow. Do you know what? Women were valued less than a cow in his times. He raised them to a cow so that they were equal with the men of those times, who were themselves cattle, because they were living like cattle. And they still are to this day. It's that consciousness. So he put them on a equal footing with the cattle men, because he said male and female in the eyes of Jah are equal. And, you know, Islam is a very progressive faith. When you understand it, when you read through the mirage that's put before you by the people who wrote it and all their warped opinions and whatever that we know today, you know, the fantasies and whatever they share, or the myths they believed in, they put it all. But, you know, Allah did not write Sharia law. Okay, what Islam did with Sharia law, that it couldn't just abolish because there were too many men that loved it. Islam would have died on its feet. But what they did include was a clause: the right to forgive, the right to forgive, the right to accept compensation and forgive, so that people didn't have to have these harsh punishments. And so throughout the Quran, Allah is stated as most kind, most merciful, most forgiving, and that if the people want to be like Allah, that's how they have to be. And in fact, most Muslims, the vast majority of Muslims I've met, apart from one who I actually walked out of his house because I was so offended by the filth that was coming out of his mouth as Islamic, okay? The vast majority, 99%, are the kindest, most gracious, lovely people that you could ever hope to meet. They really are. The Iranian people, you know, and I'm not saying they're perfect, but what I'm saying is that the pure Islam, the pure truth of Islam, as is mostly shared by the Sufis, who, my dreamer Prophet Muhammad, he was with the Sufi Muslims, okay, which was identified by their headwear of a pointy cap and a turban, which I didn't know when I had that dream. It was when I was telling people about the dream that Prophet Muhammad, he had light shining out of his skin, the same golden light that I'd seen 3 months earlier of a figure made of golden light before my eyes, okay? And at the same time experienced this energy of bliss that informed me. It informed me about the love, the abundant love of the universe for life on earth. It is crazy. It's crazy that people just ignore it. They don't believe it, but they do believe in hate. They do believe in fear. They do believe in death. They do believe in profits. They do believe in exploitation. But they don't believe in love. They don't believe in abundance. They don't believe in compassion. They don't believe in kindness. They don't believe in understanding. Because if humanity did believe more in these things than in the evil things, then life would get a lot better. But it's knowing that goodness, it's knowing that bounty of love and compassion that is there waiting for us, that has given me, people like me, okay, a survivor of child abuse, somebody who had to go for hypnotherapy just to be able to say my name without stammering, okay, why do you think I get the courage to speak out, to share my videos, to share my understanding, to wake people up, you know? Zion, Bob Marley, he sings it very clearly. Mistress Mountain, that's woman, that's the woman on earth right now, okay? Collectively, the female side of humanity is woman. The righteous woman is being persecuted. The righteous woman is being denigrated. The righteous woman is being ignored. the women are being persecuted. I mean, it is persecution. Literally, it's persecution that is going on, that has been going on for centuries. I mean, in America recently, there was a young girl, a victim of child trafficking, repeated rape, actually, torture, okay? Oh, she shoots dead one of her rapists. She's going to prison for 51 years. 51 years. I mean, men who murder women don't even get that, do they, really? At the same time, they sentenced that young girl to 16 years old to 51 years in prison. There was a guy, rapist, had actually tried to strangle his victim, and he doesn't even get a prison sentence, and he doesn't even get put on the sex offender's record. His name isn't on the sex offender's record for attempted rape. It's, and you know, a vicious attack against a woman because she's female, and he's got needs. His penis has got needs. You know, that is what is going on. The penis needs are being satisfied, aren't they? What? And who do those penises actually belong to? Brutes. Brutes who want to live by Luciferian law. That gives men the right to rape women because they are strong and powerful, and a woman is physically weak, so therefore he has rights to enforce his will against her. And what kind of children do you get from women who've been raped? Generally, you know, as a global consciousness, you've got large swathes of women being forced to marry against their will, basically being raped. So how are they going to relate to their children, seeing as it's come from this father who lives by Luciferian law, whether he knows it or not? Because the fact is, the male consciousness that's ruling today is a slave to that law. Because that law, actually, although it seems to give the individual man rights of, I am a man, and therefore I'm more powerful and superior to a woman who's inferior, okay? That same law, that is crippling humanity. It is crippling mankind, because half the consciousness is being ignored and oppressed, and that is to disable yourself. That is like living with half a brain, generally speaking. And the women that do get through into power circles like Britain, where we've got Theresa May and we've had, the lovely Margaret Thatcher, they're so far removed from their femininity. Actually, what are they? They're nothing more than gangsters' moles. That's what they are in the sight of Jah. Now, you know, Robert Nesta Marley talked to us about Mistress Mountain, like I say, Mistress Mountain, Zion, Zion, read Isaiah, Zion, the intelligence of woman, okay, the intelligence of woman, that is Zion. Not just one woman, every woman that is righteous, regardless of which faith she's with. If she's true to her faith, then she understands that Jah is about equality, it's about mercifulness, it's about kindness, it's about justice, it's about defending the innocent and the vulnerable from the brutes who refuse to live by universal law of abundance and compassion. They want to impose thrift and austerity on the masses so that they can control them, because they themselves are disabled. They're disabled because they've not got the capacity to empathise. They're like blind people trying to lead, but they've got no sight as far as their emotions are concerned. So therefore, they're short-sighted. Therefore, it means that they don't care about the future. They rewrite history. They rewrite the past to suit themselves, to justify themselves, to make themselves look like, yeah, we've walked righteously through history. No, they haven't. They are where they are today because of the crimes that were committed throughout history. And it is going to take the righteous woman, the righteous women of earth, do need to stand up. You know, it is down to us, because we have been oppressed collectively, regardless of our colour, of our faith. Collectively, women are oppressed, and they have not received their rights. You know, righteous women. And how, you know, how can we understand the reality of woman without thanking Jah, the universe, for giving us this wonderful being of a mother who is prepared to go through the pain and the discomfort and everything to bring a child into this world and love that child and raise that child. And many of them, and the fathers, there's so many fathers who, because they are bereft of their own manhood, they do not understand that when they deny women's rights, when they fail to honour and respect a woman as an equal side of man, they have crippled themselves, they have denigrated themselves, they have cut their own leg off in order to depend on a crutch provided by, well, the New World Order, isn't it? It calls itself today. Here, yes, you can cut your leg off, but don't worry, we'll sell you a nice crutch. If you can exploit enough people, we'll get you an electric wheelchair. You don't need your crutch. You know, that is what is going on. That is what is going on. That is what the money amounts to. Easy passage through the world. Yeah, you're not going to suffer poverty. You're not going to get attacked in your home by your partner. But we know humanity is humanity. It doesn't matter the rich and poor. They all commit the same crimes. They're all subject to the same misery. Whether they've got money or not, you can't escape the misery. And that is the most upsetting thing to these people who get right to the top and realise. So they have to start meddling. They have to start trying to justify. But there is no justification. There is no justification. Because they can't say that the poor are genetically inferior human beings anymore, because that don't wash, does it? Because actually, they're not genetically inferior. They can't say that the poor are incapable of being intelligent, like they used to say about black people of America. Oh yeah, you know, black people, they're incapable of learning because, you know, they're lower down on the evolutionary scale. That was the common belief. It's still there today. But the black people have proven, no, we're perfectly capable of reaching your levels of intelligence, and in fact, a step beyond, as Martin Luther King explained and embodied and personified. And that is what we need to do. We need to look to those people, the righteous people, as our role models. Because Martin Luther King isn't dead. Martin Luther King is in everybody that can live according to his understanding. To love each other. To defeat this hate by loving and caring for each other. That's how we defeat the hate. You can't fight against the hate. You can't bomb it. Because they do hate Jah law. They do hate universal law. They do hate the righteous woman. Because she asks some uncomfortable questions about things that the self-made man wants to do. Well, you know, this nuclear power. You know, but we are really worried because it can leak. There's all kinds of problems associated with it. And it will affect the children and even the unborn. So, you know, we aren't prepared really to accept this nuclear power until until we've got methods of dealing with the worst scenario. You see, that's what would have happened if the consciousness was whole. But the consciousness isn't whole. It has a deadly wound. Okay, that's the fact of it. It does have a deadly wound, and that wound is a pack of lies that it lives by and believes, and it will destroy even that consciousness itself. So we need to remove ourselves. We need to say, look, sorry, you're a disabled consciousness. We're not going to follow your dictates. We are going to live as Jah wants us to live, and that is righteously. That is with compassion. That is with kindness. That is without discrimination. That is to accept every human has rights. Treat people humanely, and the vast majority of them will respond humanely. The criminals among them will be revealed, and you deal with them. But you don't point your finger because one Muslim man did this, then that means every Muslim is the same. Or one Jewish person did this, so all Jewish people are evil. These things, sorry, this is the madness. This is like, craziness. Oh, I hate black people because I got attacked by a black man in the street, so I absolutely hate black people now. I mean, how have I survived then? I've been attacked. I was attacked by men from being a child till the age of 17, sexually assaulted and attacked and raped. Okay? So why don't I hate men? Why don't I hate them? Why do I love men? Why do I love men, the good men? Because I know Jah. I know Jesus. I know Prophet Muhammad. I know the men that live, even those that wouldn't even say that they follow a faith. Nonetheless, those men are of Jah. They are compassionate, kind men, hard-working men, caring men, who don't abuse their powers, who don't look at women as inferior, or treat them like sex objects, or disrespect them because they're a woman. I know those men, and in speaking out for the righteous woman will stand by those men and empower them, and that is why the woman has to be oppressed, because this consciousness knows that without the woman, without Zion, every man is crippled, and easily they attract the rapists, the sadists, the psychopaths. Easily they get into power because they're not bothered. They don't care if they've had to kill people or rob people or commit all kinds of crimes to get rich and powerful in this world. It's easy for them. They've got no conscience. They have no care. And people who do have a conscience and a care are persuaded and coerced through circumstances, through direct threat, to get involved, to support that crippled consciousness. So there's people who don't like what they do. They hate being a criminal, but they haven't got any choice because that's their life in this world. That's the life circumstances that's given to them, and there's no way out. Because there's no alternative. And that's what we need to do as a species, is stand by the alternatives, which we know are there, the new technology that is being suppressed in order to keep this antiquated dependence on oil going, and to keep the dilapidated, ridiculous, actually fictitious dollar going. It's a dinosaur antiquated consciousness. It's usurped every faith throughout history. It's turned every faith into something evil, to the degree you look at what's going on from Israel against Palestine, and it's like, what? Don't tell me that these are the Jews of Deborah and Barak. These are the Jews who've been lied to, controlled, manipulated, deceived, by, well, the Zionists, isn't it? And that's what I'm saying about, they call themselves Zionists, but they're not even a Zionist. Because, true Zionists are Rastafarians, because they understand Mistress Mountain. They understand Zion. Jerusalem represents, read it in Isaiah, Jerusalem represents the heart of woman, the city. Should represent the heart of a woman, the kindness, the provision for the people. Because what is the point of people having a city if it isn't actually providing for them? Well, our city centres, yeah, they provide for the people who've got money. They can't even provide shelter for homeless people. And why are they homeless people? Because every person has human rights to a home. So where are our human rights? That's what people need to stand up for. Not standing, you should be providing benches and shelters. You shouldn't be putting spikes outside shop fronts to stop poor people, homeless people from sleeping there. Let's sign a petition to ban this. No, ban homelessness. It's a crime. It's a crime against humanity that people are made homeless. It should be against the law that to make a family homeless where there's children, it should be against the law. It is disgusting when you look at the amount of empty properties in America and even in Britain, and there's people homeless. And that this government, it can't afford to provide homes for people, but it can afford to bail out a load of evil criminal bankers. This isn't Jar world. This isn't the world ruled by universal consciousness. This is a world ruled by a criminal who doesn't want Jar consciousness, and that's why the woman gets stamped on to stop her from empowering the men, okay? And when the men understand their power is with the righteous women and that they are equal, like Barak understood how many thousands of years ago? If you will go with me, Deborah, I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not. And they defeated Sisera, despite the fact that he had more men, because they were on the side of right. And in the Song of Deborah, it sings, even the stars moved from their courses in heaven to fight against the evil of Sisera. Okay, even the stars moved their course in heaven, because nothing is permanent. And when it comes to change, things move. People move. Even the stars in heaven will move to bring change. And we need more people reflecting those stars on earth. To be a star, okay? The star that you are. The star that this world is telling the vast majority of people they are not. You are not a star. You are a worthless, inferior human being. Well, I'm saying, no, everyone's a star. Everyone who can abandon their mind programming of this world, in the developed worlds, everybody who can connect with their true humanity and intelligence, that's where Jesus is. That's where Prophet Muhammad is. That's where all the righteous, good people of history who were teaching us intelligence, like, for example, even Buddha, asking people not to eat animals. The Rastafarians are, they are the leaders of consciousness. They really are. There's no way, two ways about it. They live with compassion. They live with kindness. And yeah, I'm not saying they're perfect. They have to, but I think they already have. Upgrade the woman. Women are important in their cultures. So that is where we need to stand. And, the people of ancient Britain, it's like the British people today who've all voted Brexit. Oh, yeah, we want our sovereignty, blah, blah, blah. That same consciousness that now is waiting to gobble Britain up is what Boudica stood against. A woman, a female warrior, okay, because that was before the time of Roman Christianity had stamped its boot on Britain and denigrated the woman. Because in British culture, men and women stood equally together. And to some degree, they do today, but they don't, because there's no provision made, apart from maternity leave. That's about it, the provision for the female. It's still a male-dominated society that ignores women and children's needs to a large degree. So, we need to thank Jah for the righteous woman, the righteous women of history, the righteous woman of today. And we need to honour women's rights throughout the world to provide for them. That's when you get happier mothers, happier children, a happier world, a nicer, kinder, fairer society. But if you're going to treat the women with brutality and the children are going to grow up with brutality, you're going to have a brutal world. That's why, Jesus understood that people were enslaved to false beliefs and false opinions, that these thoughts, they're like fishes, they're there waiting to enter the ocean of consciousness in everybody's head the moment they're born. Thoughts about judgments, it's judgments, isn't it? Babylonian judgments. Black people are inferior, women are inferior, you're superior. You have more rights than these people. You can do what you want, they can't. You can commit huge crimes, rob people of millions, billions of pounds, and, we'll give you a fine that barely even touches the profits you've made from your crimes. But if one of these people so much as has a plant in their pocket that we've said is illegal, they're going to go to prison. And after that, they're never going to be allowed to vote. We're going to strip them of their democratic rights. This is the kind of stuff that's going on in America, and that's supposed to be the leading democratic nation of the world, apparently. With their Statue of Liberty. And that is woman, innit? She's dead. She's a stone statue. Because they can't pay any respects to the living woman, can they? To the living woman. I love men that love women. Morgan Freeman, who I worked with on RED, was very flattering to me. But he is flattering to all women. He is a woman charmer. Dreaming is an act of pure imagination, attesting in all men a creative power, which if it were available in waking, would make every man a Dante or a Shakespeare. And it's true. But the key to that is in giving women's rights. Is to stand by the right, for the men to stand by the righteous woman. But they're not. There's an innate fear. There's an innate fear. And I know it because I've encountered it in my life time and time and time again. There's an innate fear that is instilled in the male consciousness that this world, in everything that it presents, instills an innate distrust of women in men. Not all men, but quite a large portion of them, who feel that they must be superior, and anything she does that makes him feel inferior, he hates her for it. It's a hate. It is a level of hate that's there to attack women in their own homes, from their own partners, their own children. The mother. The mother is an oppressed, enslaved woman. Just as our planet, the mother is being raped. She, no matter how much a nice person she is, she cannot give her children the love and the true sense of herself as she should be as a beloved, respectable person. She just cannot give those children the love that is their right, because she herself has been robbed of it. No matter what she does. And Jesus tried to get humanity to understand. Prophet Muhammad tried. But men don't like giving up their power. You see, once you've given people power, it's like the white people. If you say to them, oh, you've got more power than black people, then suddenly you say, oh no, actually black people are equal. They don't like it. What people need to understand is by giving up criminal powers, because it's a crime to consider yourself superior and to judge people inferior as human beings, that actually you're stronger. You're stronger when you can recognise people as human beings, first and foremost. Before you recognise their gender, before you recognise their colour or their faith, what you see before you is a human being who has rights to be treated with respect. You know, that is all Allah is asking, isn't it? That's all Jah is asking. That is all the universal consciousness is asking, that we live with respect. So I'm asking people to live with respect, to respect each other, to respect each other's needs, to show kindness and caring to the people around you. And if people treat you bad, if people, you know, attack you or they don't want to listen, well, you know, you can't have anything to do with those people, can you? Focus on the people that are respectful. When those people realise that, oh, perhaps I was wrong, if they can come and say sorry, if they can come and apologise, if they can make some amends, change, yeah, welcome back. But, you know, I can't, there's certain people that are spouting just the most horrendous so-called ideology, who I can't be around them, because it just makes me angry to hear the absolute rubbish that they're coming out with. And it's like, look, I'm sorry, if you can't understand that Trump is a criminal, if you can't understand it's not good for a nation to elect somebody who has got 19 women accusing him of sexually assaulting them, and we've got his own confession on tape of sexually assaulting women as well and bragging about it. If you can't understand that you don't put somebody like that as president of your country, if you can't understand that, how can I explain? How can I? Because you've not even got the basic level of morality that would say no, sorry. We cannot consciously, knowingly give power to such a person. Doesn't mean that he can't be forgiven. It doesn't mean that he couldn't say sorry, but he's not fit to be a president. And it is actually even protecting him and his family, because look what's happening now, the scrutiny going on, the business, the whole blooming family's at risk. If people really cared about Trump, they would have recognised that he's a guy who needs help, a family that needs help. But you don't make him president so he can make even more crimes. And now all his family's at risk. His lawyer's in jail. Who else is going to be going to jail? It's like, you just don't even go there. But that is a country that America has shown itself from the top. I'm not talking about the people on the ground, but from the top, America has shown itself to be a nation that hates the female, that thrives on oppressing the female to this very day. The prophet said, there is no comfort in this world better than a righteous wife. Okay? A righteous wife. Well, the righteous wife in this world presently is a widow, and that's a fact. And it is up to the youth. You know, we need to educate the youth, the child of humanity, to show them a new way, to show them the righteous way, to bring them up in a stable, caring, compassionate world that values every child as a VIP, not to be legally labelled a minor human being. Okay? So, you know, perhaps people think that this video is too long. Well, really, it isn't. It's actually very short when one considers the amount of suffering and crimes that are just unspoken, unheard, that's been going on century after century after century after century. We hear about the genocide against the Native American people. And the women, though, the women were raped, okay? The women who were pregnant, who've got little children, who got murdered. People don't think about those. They just think about the men. Men were killed, you know, but it's not, it's been horror. The black women that were being transported, naked, raped, sold to rapists. And when they'd done with them, set to work in the fields. And many of the children that those women had were killed at birth. Do people know that? Do people think about? You don't think about these things. You don't think about the children. You don't think about the women when you look through history. Generally, it's all about the men. The males. But women have paid a heavy, heavy, heavy price. And today, you know, this world, all it can do is provide them transitory comforts of painting the nails and the faces and wearing pretty clothes and, you know, having a nice home and, oh yeah, driving a car, oh yeah, yeah. It's like, no, no, no. Mistress Babylon or Mistress Mountain, you know, Zion. That's the choice. That's why I've always explained these people who are Zionists, they're not true, they're not Zionists. Okay, Zionists are Rastafarian who value and appreciate female intelligence, respect. So, therefore, you know, I'm not asking Zionists of Israel who support Israel, I am not asking you to change, I'm not asking you to abandon your Zionism, I'm asking you to abandon the lies that you've been told is Zionism, and to recognise the true Zionism, Rastafarian way, to recognise that and to step into it and to become human beings, to be forgiven, to be cleansed of the crimes of history that you have absorbed unwittingly, really, that you've been programmed into, you know. So yeah, I'm asking Zionists to become real Zionists. I'm not saying kill the Zionists. I am saying that consciousness is going to end. It is unsustainable. It will destroy itself. That means all you Zionists and your children, okay? So yeah, you can say, oh, actually, no, this isn't Zionism. Rastafarians, they're the Zionists. Actually, we're going to live like them. We're going to be vegans. We're going to live with respect and compassion. That's all you have to do. Is that so difficult? Or do you Zionists just enjoy all the suffering that you inflict? Do you have no faith whatsoever in jar love, the abundance of love? Does nobody have faith in it? Do people just think anybody that's showing love and compassion are just a mug? They're stupid. They're stupid because they care. Apparently, yeah. Apparently, I'm crazy. Witnessing a light being, having a dream of Prophet Muhammad with light shining out of his skin. You know, because that told me that, look, here's the light, the universal intelligence, this is what I can do. And look, this man was host to me. Prophet Muhammad was a host to this same light as Jesus was. It's like, oh, right, I understand. So, Prophet Muhammad. So then I studied the Prophet Muhammad's life, and I found an absolutely beautiful human being who did absolutely amazing things. And he loved Jesus. He loves Jesus. And he's the same, of the same light as Jesus. Operating in different times, facing different challenges. And it is absolutely amazing what he did, what he achieved. That even if you just look at one thing that he did, which was provide every Muslim person the right to have access to water 5 times a day. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And you know, that is more than this world can even provide, the developed world can provide to the people of today in a lot of places, isn't it? They've got to charge people for it. So, what can I say? It's, maybe I am just a mad person. It's up to people to make their own judgments. But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, there is no chance of a patriarchy without a matriarchy. That's how it is. And that's why this world is not governed by a patriarchy. They're lying, calling themselves a patriarchy. They're not. It isn't a patriarchy. It's an oligarchy. It always has been. Because as soon as the woman and child are oppressed and denied their rights, that's it. The patriarchy's gone. And that consciousness knows it. That is precisely why they've done it. Is to crush the patriarchy. And that is why today, the humans of today, really, we've had no parents. Our parents are not the people they really should have been. So we've had no parents. We're all orphans. Widows and orphans. Everybody, regardless of what age they are in years, is a youth. And we need to stand by the little children. That is what we need to do in everything. You know, a caravan of people with lots of little children. Oh, the children. We must provide for these people because there's children with them. Let the children see love. Let the children experience love. So, you know, thanks and praise. Thank you, Jar, for giving us the righteous woman. The righteous women. Thank you for the female, this beautiful side of man. This giving, creative, kind, caring side of man. Thank you. righteous women in their circle of influence, beginning in the home, can turn the world around. And that is why the home in this world, especially in the developed world, actually in most nations, the home is the place where women experience the most oppression. And I know it because, you know, in my home and the people around me, when I started talking about the light being and Prophet Muhammad, oh, that was it, I was mad, and they totally stamped on me, and they did judge me mad. And it was very, very difficult for me to accept that people could do that. I'd been so kind to these people. They knew I wasn't stupid intellectually, but that was it. I'd gone mad. They just could not accept what I was saying. They didn't want to know about it. They weren't interested. You know, like I was interested. Well, how could this happen? You know, when you see a rainbow, people have studied how is that possible for there to be a rainbow? There's a mechanism that allows it to happen. So obviously, I'm interested. How could a light being appear out of a glowing orb in a cloud? How could that happen? I was interested. I'm interested. They weren't interested. They were scared. They were scared, and it was easier for them to condemn me and judge me rather than stand by the light that I was sharing with them. So I didn't get any support. That is why I'm on my own to this very day, and people keep their distance. Oh, she's a bit mad. And you do start to behave. You know, I started to feel like I really was mad. And I did question myself, like, you know, is it a psychotic experience? Well, what was it saying? Well, yeah, actually, you're mad. Jesus was mad. Prophet Muhammad was mad. All these people are mad. Intelligence is Margaret Thatcher. Intelligence is Pinochet. Intelligence is Stalin. Intelligence is President Trump. Because that's who's been set to lead the world. There's something wrong with humanity, you know. There's something wrong with your priorities. You know, this is the kind of Islam that gets dumped on the people once it's been usurped by Luciferians. That's what they turn Islam into, something that attacks women, something evil. There you go. It's okay to burn a woman. It's heresy to burn a book. Well, do you know what? Jah loves that woman, Allah loves that woman more than Allah cares about that book, okay? Because if you can't read the book enough, if you've not got the intelligence to want to read that book with the understanding that this woman needs love and respect and kindness and compassion and mercy, okay, then that book is worthless, it's valueless, because it isn't teaching you, it isn't teaching you. You're not learning from it. Because it says at the first page of the Quran that Muslims must live by knowledge. New knowledge, you must abandon old ways and traditions that new knowledge proves is wrong. And these antiquated Muslims, that's what they live by, they're antiquated interpretations. And the Quran does explain as well that there's not one holy book that is not polluted by Satan. There you go. It doesn't exclude itself from that either. So it's about sorting the wheat from the chaff, isn't it? Because it's in everything. Everything. Wheat and chaff. What's chaff? What's wheat? You've got to sort it out, people. Arrive at the judgment. Because the judgment that this universe gives, basically, it is all according to the law. That's what everything's measured by. Universal law. Everything that steps outside it, that's living outside it, is living in crime. That's it. So, you know, the British government is considered a force of tyranny on earth right now, according to universal law. That's how it is. That's how it is. A force of tyranny. That's what's ruling Britain. The same ruling America. A force of tyranny. The same ruling Israel and Palestine. Because Israel is controlling and creating everything that goes on in Palestine. So Israel is a force of tyranny. Every single nation that is under a leadership that does not respect and uphold their population's human rights are a criminal organisation. That's the judgment. It's not a judgment from Jah, it's a judgment humanity has created of itself that stands against itself because humanity has stood against Jah law, universal law, and operated in direct opposition to it. And everything good that Jah has provided, they've turned it into something evil. Like, for example, plastics. Like, for example, nuclear power. So, thank you for taking the time to listen anyway. I know it's a long video, and but it's these, the children, okay? The children of every nation, of every faith. That's who we need to think about now. We need to think about what kind of a planet we are leaving them. I mean, they will absolutely hate this generation. If the people of this generation cannot turn it around, then, you know, you are looking at a breech birth, and if the mother dies, the child is going to die, because we have not got another planet. So either you're going to listen to Zion, the righteous women of this world, and you're going to allow your cities to be Jerusalem, then, you know, I'm sorry, that's it. Humanity, you go and have your evil Cerinthus revelation prophecy, live it out to the last letter, and you'll get what's coming to you. You know, it's like you were given the choice. The people of Nineveh, they did it. They chose not to follow an evil prophecy. They didn't want that fulfilled. That's why Jah gave us free choice and free will. And it is, if this species has truly got intelligence and is connected to the true love of this universe, we will find courage and strength to rise up, not standing against, but standing up for the children, for our rights, for the love of Jah. Okay? That is how it works. And men, you do need to stand by the women, the righteous women, and allow them to speak out, because there is your own power, you see. And that is why the oligarchies have kept females out of their power circles, because they do not want to listen to reason, the reason of compassion, the reason of empathy, the reason of true intelligence. Because their intelligence is being guided by their personal opinions that support their desires. And mostly their desires are about enslaving, controlling. You know. Because they've got mental health problems. But they were rich. So if you've got a rich person with a lot of power who's got mental health problems, a lot of people are going to suffer. And when I'm talking about mental health problems, I'm talking about psychological perverseness, perverse desires. And the only way these people can get away with satisfying their perverse desires is by getting into power, is by getting wealthy. And the only way to get really rich and wealthy and powerful in this world is by committing crimes against humanity and getting away with it. And they do that by creating scapegoats and blaming the weakest people. And that's how this male consciousness, this oligarchy, has arisen and crushed the patriarchy, crushed the good men on earth. That is how it has arisen, precisely by cutting out the female influence, the female voice. So I do believe, you know, as soon as the righteous men and women get together and stand by each other, that is when the future starts looking bright. When men stand up to protect women, when men stand up against the abuses of women's rights, when they stand up for women's rights, when they will not tolerate to witness crimes against women. And, you know, men do stand up for women in this world, but they're a quiet and oppressed voice, aren't they? They don't tend to be made president, do they? You know, a strong man and a strong woman are a righteous man and a righteous woman. But for some reason, this world seems to think that the strongest person are the people with the most money. And that is why everything is just going down the plug hole. There you go. Support each other, sisters, because that's the other thing, isn't it? You know, the people who most stand against women are women themselves with their... Because, again, it's the programming to be jealous, to be this, to be that, look at judging each other. Oh, you're prettier than me, or oh, you're more... Oh. You know, jealousy, 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 jealousy. Between women, it's ridiculous. We all suffer the same. It doesn't matter how pretty somebody is. I'm considered attractive, okay? And it's like, I remember when I was in my early 30s and I was so depressed because of what's happened. I had these flashbacks of what happened to me as a child, and I had to face such horror that was going on in the world because nobody accepts light being, and I was so depressed. And I remember one woman said to me, "Oh, but you're so pretty, you know, you don't need to be depressed. You're so pretty." As if, like, well, you know, if I looked like you, I'd be out there, you know, empowering myself on the strength of my looks, and I could have any man that I wanted, and I'd be using that power. I'd be so happy because I looked beautiful. What? Are you just a face, woman? Are you just a face and hair and nails and a body? What's in your brain? What's in your consciousness? I couldn't believe it when she said that to me, as if I felt like I just wanted to cut my face off. I really did. It was like, look, can't you understand? I'm upset about these things. You can't look at why I'm upset. Instead, you have to look at me and say, judge me as like, oh, but you're stupid, aren't you? Because you're so pretty. How can you be depressed when you're so pretty? It's... I don't know. I do feel dismayed. So, you know, let us change the course of history, women. Let us come together. Let us be one, as Jah created us. One side of man.